Hello, everybody. Finn Gowenson here, Lieutenant of the Armed Herd, Ordo Servi, and head of House Venatores. Um, if you're watching this, I play Finn. Yeah. Um, my real name's Samuel Tyler Leberts. I've been with the Ordo Servi since, what was it? That was the Grand Battle of 2016. Um, this video is to do something very similar to what Tina did with hers when she started the house in 2017. This is to give you a bit of an idea of who our allies are, who some of our enemies are, a little bit of what battlefield kit and off battlefield kit looks like for various guilds, as well as a little bit of potentially basic information. Some people may be joining me later on in this recording. The idea is to start doing these sessions similar to Echo's, evenings with Fun Mama, just to try and get some basic information out there, help you guys get stuff sorted, and yeah, so we will get things going. I will get my screen share up and running, and we'll start with so as we go. You can tell how often I do these things. Alrighty, so this first group, arrogance, which is basically arrogance in English. It's not that complicated. These guys are friends of ours. They are a justice type of guild. Each guild in Beetling has a certain focus. Some are military, some are explorers, like Ordo Servi. Arrogance is a justice guild. These guys, they're really cool. They're great people to party with. As you'll notice in the picture to the bottom right, some of them have their hair blonde or bleached out. The story goes that a mage in their guild blew something up. I don't remember the exact details, but he blew something up, and as a result, all of them had their hair change color because magic is dangerous. On the battlefield, these guys are fairly heavily armored. Recently, some of them have started going lighter. Prince Felix, the gentleman on the left there, is the head of the guild, and recently he has started going a lot lighter. You can see him in the bottom right corner. He's a tower shield and weapons. Recently, he has started going with lighter armor and favors two-handed weapons, great swords or halberds. Yeah, they're a hilarious group. They've been helping us out a great deal with translations and with finding things out and getting around. They're a lot of fun to be around. The Bastard Sons are our next door neighbor on site, or at the very least were at the time of this recording. New construction may have displaced them, and they may end up moving around. But their symbol is the closed gauntlet holding the crown on a green and white field. The Bastard Sons are a really cool group. Ivor is the gentleman in white there. Sir Ivor was a knight of Noizak. He and the rest of the Bastard Sons made friends with Ordo fairly quickly when Ordo Servi first appeared. And they've been helping us with translations a lot. They've been helping us with learning the battlefield, getting the feel for things, and even just when it comes to the political stuff, Bastard Sons and Ordo tend to back each other up. Nyx is the armored lady on the right there, where Sir Ivor is a member of Noizak, and at one point Thalokla. They still be. We'll see how things go in the future. Nyx is a member of the religion Teratos, Chaos, and is one of the few members few Teratos worshippers that we are on good terms with constantly. This was taken in 2017, year I started. This is the Bastard Sons at that time. Some of them were first timers, some were vets and have been coming out for a couple of years. The Bastard Sons are a very, I'm going to say, hodgepodge group when it comes to kit, though recently they've started making efforts to get tabards in their colors and display their guild heraldry more prominently. They are a mixed bag of weapons and armor, plate, scale, chain, leather, or none of the above. They have a couple of good frontline fighters. Eagle is not pictured here, but he is one of their frontline fighters and fights with a huge tower shield. Sir Ivor has a sizable shield as well and can hold his own on the front line. But for the most part, the Bastard Sons lean towards skirmishing or support. Yeah, they're a really good group to be with on the battlefield. They're a little chaotic, but they're good friends to have. The dwarves, their building is on the main street by the New Auberge. You can tell because it's got shields with that little dwarven head helmet thing emblem hanging all over the building. You can also just ask people where to buy dwarven cider, and it'll get you to the same place. They do brew their own stuff and sell it off. Several groups of Beakleen do, but the dwarves are well known for it, and they have very good quality product. On the battlefield, you can tell they're dwarves. They're always wearing those big, oversized fake beards just to, emphasize the fact that yes, we're dwarves. We have big beards. Generally, they've worn blue and black, and they honestly tend towards skirmishing. Whereas a lot of dwarves you'll see in like mythologies and games and whatnot are heavy infantry. The dwarves at Beakleen I've found to be skirmishers. They have several archers, a couple polearm fighters, and a couple sword and shield fighters, but not a lot of them wear heavy plate. Not a lot of them use tower shields. Sometimes they do. They're entirely capable of it, but primarily I found these guys to be a skirmisher group wearing leathers. They're pretty cool people. You can buy booze from them. You can go and drink with them. They're a neat bunch. So when you hear people talking about Redemption, this is the crew. Redemption is a guild that I believe is focused on the control of magic, in that they are concerned that magic is playing too prominent a role, and so they often move in to negate or limit magical activity in an area. If there's a religion that's getting too powerful, sometimes they'll oppose it as well. That is my understanding in any case. Redemption is the fist of the Empire. For all that people refer to, or as people refer to Ordo Servi as the fist of the South, and we are the major force for Terre de Sud. Redemption commands the Empire's forces. The Empire is based off of Warhammer Fantasy's Human Empire, and Redemption is the group that commands them on the battlefield. Redemption is a guild of very good fighters. Primarily, they fight heavy armor and weapons, tower shields, spears, number of long swords. They are a well-trained group. They know their business, and they're very, very effective. They stay very close together. They operate as a team really well. And they're very much into their role play. Similar to how we in the Ordo have encouraged fawns that, if you go wandering or you want to go drinking with people, cool, bring a friend. Redemption is a good example of this because you will never find a member of Redemption just wandering about by themselves. If you do, it's because probably they've been sent out to run a message. But Redemption as a whole stays together. You'll always find them in at least two, like a pair. But generally the group moves about as a collective. They're fairly, I'm going to say, reclusive during the grand battle. They'll come out and fight, but whereas numerous guilds will just roam about and visit others' camps, from what I have seen, and this may just be my poor perception, Redemption tends to keep mostly to themselves. Their building is in Old Town, right next to the Monster Pit. Yeah, if you run into these guys on the battlefield, hang on tight. It's going to be rough. But they're a really cool group. They're a lot of fun to talk with. They may be a little standoffish at first, but be polite, ask them some questions, and see what happens. Phoenix is one of the oldest guilds in Beacaline. Beacaline has been running for over 20 years now, and Phoenix was one of the original guilds. They used to be one of the largest guilds, but with recent times they have shrunk a little bit. They used to field somewhere around 40 odd combatants, if memory serves. Right now they're probably getting around 20 or so out onto the battlefield. They use spears and halberds. I don't think I've really ever seen them fight with swords. Tower shields and heavy armor are their thing. They're a tough group to fight. They can be a challenging fight, but these guys also hit a little hard. No, that may just be because I happened to take a couple of halberd blows to the head one time. But I've heard that Phoenix can be a very good and enjoyable fight. They're a challenge to work against. They're very good at what they do, and what they do is they generally pick a spot and they hold it. If they push forward, it's as a unit. Similar to Redemption, Phoenix stays together on the battlefield as a very tight-knit group. They are very good at punching a hole in a line. If they want to move through a line, they will tear their way through, and they're equipped to do that job. Helican is another group that some people will tell you these guys, play hard and hit hard and whatever. But I found them to be a very good crew to fight against. They are mostly polearm fighters, though I've seen a number of their fighters in the past couple of campaign events I've been to, fighting just sword and shield. These guys, I believe, are also Empire. They know what they're doing. They're not new to the fighting game at all. They've always got their heraldry on them. Their building is also an Old Town. It's painted in their guild colors, orange and black. Sometimes they come across as being a little difficult. However, whether it's a couple bad apples or it's just that's how they play their characters, be polite with them, play fair when you're going up against them, and they respect you for it. I've had a couple times now where Helican spear fighters will, come up to me after a fight and say how well I was doing, or they'll compliment me during a battle or whatever, saying, "Yeah, good shot, good job." So they know what they're doing. They also fight heavy. There's a couple lighter armored members, primarily they're spearmen, but for the most part, these guys are wearing plate even in the summer heat. So they're in really good condition. Ragnarok was our friend at one point, and then due to some confusion, ended up being a bit of I'm not going to quite say an enemy, but an occasional adversary. Ragnarok is a guild that is mostly Viking themed, but you may want to lean a little bit more into the Nords from Skyrim and the Elder Scrolls games. These guys primarily are a heavy infantry unit. Massive tower shields, spears is their general mix, though I've seen a number of their skirmishers as well. And these guys know their stuff. They're not the fastest unit ever. Their skirmishers know what they're doing. They know how to move. But for the most part, the guild stays close. They stay as a solid wall. They don't move very quickly. They're not very good at taking ground because of that. And those shields are heavy. Like you can see in a couple of the pictures, those are metal shields. They weigh a couple pounds. But on the other hand, these guys can be very good at holding ground. If you put them in a choke point, they're fantastic, and they're a pain in the butt to get around. Um, they're also a fun fight. They're great guys to chill with. Um, Recently, I've heard that they're the sort that they really like us as a guild, and they enjoy hanging out with us and fighting against us. And so they'll occasionally antagonize us because that's their way of showing their affection. Um, I haven't been able to confirm that myself, but we'll see how things go in the future. So the White Lions, similar to the Bastard Sons and Aragons, was a group that we met early on during the creation of the Ordo Servi, and similar to how King Rattan saw potential in us and decided to give us some help, the White Lions saw something very similar. They saw people who were very interested in the game, who wanted to grow and improve and enjoy this world. And so they've been working very hard to help us out. Augustus, the gentleman on the left there, in the evening uniform, is one of their primary battlefield leaders. Between Sir Augustus and Sir Darius, the two of them lead the lines on the battlefield. Both are accomplished spear fighters. They know their stuff. They know what to do. The White Lions, unlike some of the previous guilds that we've gone through, the White Lions tend to spread themselves out a little bit. They'll mix with other groups and help lead them. They're well known. If Sir Darius moves over to another guild and starts giving them instructions, generally people will listen to him. He knows what he's doing, and he's generally involved in the command on a particular front in some way, shape, or form, whether he's the one leading the whole thing, or maybe he's just, helping take a particular objective. He's generally involved somehow. The other fun thing about the White Lions is that where some guilds, like the Ordo Servi, is a exploring mercenary company with some merchants thrown in. The White Lions are actually an order of knights. Sir Darius once told me during an evening during the Grand Battle that when he joined up, he joined as a man-at-arms. And after he'd served with them for a couple of days, they gave him I believe it was a belt, rope belt, that marked him as a man-at-arms and a member of the order. And then over time, he was eventually squired to a more senior member, and then later on earned his knighthood. They are one of several groups that role play like this, but they are the one that we've primarily interacted with, and they are a huge help to us. As you can see here, anyone who's wearing that white lion on a black field is a member of their guild. And they, similar to knights, they have mostly heavily armored shield fighters, though there are a couple spears in there as well. I have not seen them use halberds, though. Yeah, so there's one halberd. They're a really good group. They're a lot of fun. Their camp is in the True Faith Plain. At the very least was. We'll see about 2017. But they're a good crew to hang out with. They're a lot of fun. They're very friendly. Like if you walk into their camp, just don't do it during a guild meeting. But if you walk into their camp, they'll welcome you to the fire. They'll teach you a couple songs. Just say hi, hang out with them, and be sure to thank them for all the help that they give us. Montfort is another guild of knights. Their emblem is the sun above the crenellations with the cross swords below. They also live right next door to us. They are right around the corner. Whereas the White Lions will often have you serve for a couple years before you eventually earn your knighthood. Montfort, from what I've seen, are a little bit more of a fast advancement. We were at one campaign where several of their members had just fought for the first time and thereby earned their knighthoods. They do own a war machine. They own a ballista. which we will go into more depth on war machines and such, probably when we do a hangout on objectives and campaign objective points and that sort of thing. For the most part, these guys fight with shields. They have a couple spearmen, but I haven't seen any skirmishers with their emblem, and I don't think I've ever seen any archers of theirs. But yeah, they're primarily shields and spears. They know how to armor themselves. If you're going up against them, try and aim for spots which have chainmail, or go for their legs, because not a lot of them will armor their legs because their shields block most of it. So many of you guys know of Coulson. Coulson is a member of the Ordo Survie. Got engaged to Alana, who is a high priestess of of Octo Armis, which is a branch of the Noizak religion. She's a member of Chimère. This is the guild that she's a part of. They are very good fighters. They have a lot of renown when it comes to their battlefield activity. You can just make out their emblem a little bit there. See if you've got it. No, apparently I didn't grab a much better one. But the dark blue and the purple, or burgundy, if you want to be particular, I suppose, are their colors. And that white sort of dragon creature is their emblem. On the battlefield, these guys know what they're doing. Alana, who's the young lady pictured in top left, is a healer, and she's very good at her job. The rest of the members of the guild on the battlefield are primarily spear fighters, from what I've seen. And these guys know how to fit into a line. If there's another guild, like say Montfort is on their side and has their shields up, these guys will just find the right spot to jump in between the shields, and they'll put their spear to good use. I've noticed one thing about them, in that almost all of their spear fighters will have a secondary weapon in hand. So they'll be stabbing with their spear, but they'll have a dagger in one of the hands that's also hanging onto the spear. So rather than having to draw a weapon, if someone gets in close, it's already in hand and they're ready to go. These guys know their business. Ferrata Fidelis is a very new guild. Their first appearance was at the Ordo Survie's campaign in May of 2017. Their emblem, you can just make out on the shields. It's that sort of starburst on their red and gold. I don't know a lot about them, to be honest. The praetor who leads them is the gentleman in the left picture who's wearing the fox fur. He's the leader of their guild, to my understanding, and they're still a fairly small group. They're a bit of a mix. They have a couple shield fighters, a couple skirmishers, I think maybe one or two spears. But they're really cool people. They're very friendly. I would say pretty well all of them are fairly fluent in English. They're a great crowd to hang out with. If you see them on our side of the battlefield, hook up with them. If you have to form a line, these guys do know what they're doing. The praetor is a very good shieldman. I've worked with him before as a spear to his shield, and it's a lot of fun. Yeah, no, they're fairly new, so we'll see how things go with them. And if I remember correctly, they are also members of Terre de Sud, but I'm not sure, so we'll see how that goes. Salmarak, hopefully I spelled that right, is another guild that we are allied with. They're one of the pirate guilds. On the battlefield, most of their fighters I've seen are wearing armor, though I wouldn't be surprised to know that there's a couple skirmishers in their group. I just haven't seen them, probably because they're the sort of skirmishers who generally don't wear guild colors. Salmarak, I believe they're part of one of the kingdom alliances that's going on right now. Coulson will be able to tell you more about that. Or one of the members of the courts, either Duke Xavius or Countess Cinder, can probably tell you a bit more. What I do know about them is that they're a cool group. They apparently have a very nice bar floating around somewhere with Ordo. and we're probably going to back them up in a fight in the near future, if rumor is true. They're cool guys. They're great fighters. I have a good deal of respect for them. And I mean, as pirates go, it's kind of neat how they'll switch from wearing plate armor, and then in the evenings they'll be dressed up like to the nines as pirates. It's very intense, and they're great people to hang out with. They're not as great at English, but they're very friendly people. Le Beignet is a guild that I've just been watching a lot more because they also appear to be fairly numerous. See, there you go. That's a better one of their coat of arms. So if you see that goblet with a cross in it, that's them. They're fairly friendly people. They're good fighters, and they appear to be a mix very similar to us, where they have a number of shields and then a number of spears. They have a couple lighter armed people, but I wouldn't say they really have skirmishers similar to us. But for the most part, they're fairly lightly armored. They wear a little bit of leather, a little bit of plate. But no, overall, they appear to be competent fighters. They know their business, and they're friendly people. They've always got a smile, and they're willing to joke around and laugh. So that is a number of the guilds that we've been operating with for some time. Trying to think of anything else I should probably cover. You guys have probably been in a couple different hangouts. If you haven't gotten the chance yet, I would recommend going to Google Maps, look up the Duchy of Beekeling. You can find it. It's an actual place on Google Maps. Take a look at the site. There's a couple things that you'll be able to notice, even without the street view, though if you want to check out the street view, I believe it takes you straight to the new auberge, which is actually kind of cool. What I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to jump over and show it to you to show you locations of things. So when you arrive, whether you're driving yourself or you're coming on the shuttle, you're going to come into this parking lot here. It's going to be very full. There's going to be a lot of people and a lot of vehicles, and depending on the weather, it's probably going to be a mud pile. This building right here is one of the registration buildings. When you show up, you're going to go here. You're going to, get your wristband, your cards, all that sort of thing. If you drove your own vehicle, you're then going to be directed down to, here we go, Saint Mathieu. Saint Mathieu de Parc. There is a community center and a couple churches here, and they will direct you to a parking spot for them. And your vehicle will be kept there. There will be a tag with your name on it and all that. And there's a shuttle service at the beginning and end of the week that'll run to and from there. That'll help, get you around, and your vehicle will be stored there for the weekend. If you need to access it, you're probably going to end up walking. There are a couple other parking lots around in the fields, but the town is the primary place for parking. Ordo Serbi camp is actually really conveniently located for newcomers. This group of buildings right here, plot right here, is Ordo Serbi. Right now you can only see a couple of the buildings. During the Grand Bataille week, this whole area is going to be filled with tents. Like it's tent city. Yeah, that's our camp. When I said earlier the True Faith Plain, like where the White Lions camp, that's this area right here. Marmara, which is a branch of the True Faith, is camping here. It's another order of knights, the Order of the Holy Shrine or Sepulchre. They are putting up their new building right on the corner here. which is where the Lions may end up being displaced over. But normally the Lions camp somewhere around here. Ragnarok has their building over here, and they recently put up a new one that's sort of a tavern that's apparently going to be the home for a lot of quests and adventure. So that's always a neat spot to check out. The dwarves are this building right here. This is the new auberge. It is, I'm going to say 3.5 to 4 stories tall, plus a basement. It has electricity, running water, a kitchen. It is the primary bar for campaigns. But during the Grand Battle Week, I'd say it's probably the secondary bar. The primary bar during the Grand Battle Week being the old auberge, which we'll get to in a minute. Oh, I guess I should clarify. This whole area right here is referred to as Newtown. This is actually a fairly recent expansion in the past couple of years. Previously, Beekling just really existed over to this side, which is Old Town, and we'll get there in a minute. Yeah, so there's Ragnarok. Dwarves are right over here. There's a number of guild buildings back in and around here. Berserk, who's also one of our friends, is their buildings just into the edge of the forest. And there's this new little area coming in right back in here. For lack of a better name, I'm going to call it Fantastic Street, simply because every building that goes in there has to be fantastic in some way. So there's a member of the Ordo who built here, and he had to make sure that his building looked kind of wonky and kind of silly. There's one building that has a broken down windmill that was apparently destroyed by dragonfire. There's another one that has this giant tree growing up through it. So it's a really neat neighborhood. But it's also, the first couple of buildings at least, are also owned by a number of merchants that come to the game. People who deal with Epic Armory or Calamisil. And during the Grand Battle Week, this whole area in front of the auberge also becomes a sort of marketplace. There's a building right on the corner here which has fresh fruit and vegetables. There's vendors that are selling blacksmithing wares. There's a blacksmith that'll show up and will be doing metal work during the week. I believe one of the daycare operations occurs somewhere back here. They'll teach kids how to sword fight and fight monsters and play around, that sort of thing. But there's people selling leatherworks, jewelry, all that sort of neat stuff. So this building is Montfort. Like I said, they're literally right around the corner from us. This is one of the pirate guilds. I'm not sure which one. One of them exists here on the pirate ship, which is slowly falling apart. We'll see how many more years it lasts. There's another pirate guild right here by the new auberge. It looks like almost every other building, other than the fact that there's a small mast with a crow's nest, and there's generally a cannon sitting out front. I believe they're also one of the pirate guilds that actually owns a cannon for war machines. So anyway, if you leave the Ordo Servi camp and you go down this path, this area right here, this is our primary swimming hole. There's a couple spots along the river where people will go swimming, but this is one that is fairly well used by people in Newtown. Water taps, because that'll be a thing you're probably going to want. There's one water tap right here at the corner. There's several others located throughout Newtown. There's another one down here, primarily because this road, I mean this one as well, but this road is the main route to the battlefield. This bridge, this is what takes you to the battlefield for Biko, which is, I'm going to zoom out. So this is Old Town, this is Newtown, this is all battlefield. This whole stretch, like you see how far this road goes up, that's all battlefield. This is all battlefield. If someone refers to the gorge, they're talking about this stretch right in here. But this whole space is battlefield for Beekling. So when people are talking about, you know, you might want to, actually it's not just there. We fought up here in 2016. This area is also part of the battlefield. So when people talk about, you know, you're going to be carrying your kit a very long distance and you're going to be doing a lot of marching and fighting, This is why, because this whole area can be used. A lot of the fighting will take place on what's known as the battle plane or the mage's plane, which is this area right here, which is also the location of the fort, which you can just make out here. There are 4 towers. Sometimes they are in play, in which case archers and sometimes spearmen will be in them and will be, making life irritating. A lot of the times they aren't in play, simply because it's very difficult to get in there and kill the guys off without being a little unsafe. The fort fights are very interesting. If you've heard people complain or talk about the fort fights and the fact that it's a meat grinder, it's because you're compressing a couple hundred people into this little space. The Grand Battle of 2016 was fought around here. Some of the skirmishes went out into the woods, but the Grand Battle itself was really only fought in this field. Yeah, so that is that. So we're going to follow the road, and we're going to go to. No, we are going to go to Old Town. So Old Town stretches all the way up to the road where there's this secondary gate. This used to be the entrance for Beacoline. But as they expanded and time went on and they grew, they changed it over to where it is now as they built out. But as you come in to Old Town, you'll notice that there's a path going off in the trees just off to the side here. It'll take you down into this little valley. This is the Elven Camp. Now, I don't remember exactly, but I do believe the story is that there is some magic guarding the way to the Elven Camp. And unless you have one of the proper magic items that will allow you through, or a password, you have to approach to a certain distance and stop and wait for the guardian or watchman or whatever who's there to arrive, and then he will question you and find out why you want to come to the Elven lands, and then he will escort you down if he feels that you've got a good reason to be there. I guess that's a good way to quickly stick in that the realm, when people say Beacoline, they're referring to the game world and the virtual world, which is a whole pile of kingdoms and territories. They're referring to the duchy, which is a spot in the game world and in the real world, as you can see on this map, where all the guilds meet up and where things happen. And then Beacoline is also the game itself. So Beacoline is threefold meaning. The Elven territory is one of those areas where the virtual game and the real world overlap. Because if I remember correctly, the story is that you're basically walking through like a magical forest path, kind of like druids in D&D or Pathfinder games or whatever can like forest walk. They can step into a tree and reappear somewhere else. That's kind of how it works with the elves, if my understanding is right. You basically walk down this magical path and it takes you to the Elven Kingdom of Irondale. But anyway, so that's there. This collection of buildings right here at the front, like right as you come in, belong to Phoenix, both sides of the road. They are a large guild. They've got all their own buildings. During the Saturday night, so after the Grand Bataille has occurred, there is a party known as Phoenix Fest. Phoenix basically sets out their bar, and anyone is welcome to come. You are encouraged to bring whatever booze you have left because it's the last night, and it goes onto the bar shelf, and it's help yourself. So a lot of booze shows up, and a lot of booze disappears into people's tankards. But they also will have entertainers, a couple of musicians, dancers, fire breathers as well, because fire is something Phoenix very much enjoy playing around with. There's a variety of guilds all tucked in here. Old Town is a little bit more of a hodgepodge and less neatly organized than New Town. So King Rattan, for example, I believe that's his group of buildings right there. I unfortunately don't have a picture handy of King Rattan's coat of arms. That's something I'm going to try and get my hands on in the future. Basically, it looks like a saber-toothed cat with arrows underneath it. And it's a sort of like golden tan color. During the Grand Bataille, we'll take you on a tour of the towns, and you'll be able to see the different buildings. There's a Terratos building over here. There's sort of a wooden castle over here that belongs to another guild. There's a couple buildings that hang along the back cliff here. This little area is known as Low Town. So there's Old Town up here, and then there's Low Town. There's a couple wooden structures, but primarily it's tents during the Grand Battle Week. There's a couple guilds that'll just camp down there. They've got their own spots reserved. This building right here is Helican. Right here on the corner.
You find your own stuff first. So just gonna go make some McDonald's or Walmart that you want to come on.
Yeah, can you give me like 5 minutes? Yeah, so the Helican's building is right here. The Gypsies, or one of the Gypsy groups anyway, I believe the Travelers, their camp is somewhere down around here. Aragon's is their camp, generally set up, I think, over here. They'll set up their tent, and they just, similar to the Bastard Sons, they just do a large communal tent. Thank you, Mike. Captain Killian just bounced the heraldry our way. This is Rattan's coat of arms. So yeah, he doesn't wear it as openly as other guilds will, but you'll see it on the side of his buildings. So yeah, thank you, Captain Killian, or Commander Killian, I suppose now. Yeah, so there's a variety of different guilds all in here. There's the Witches, which is both a religion and a guild. Their symbol is a black bird on a pentacle, the 5-pointed star. You can find their camp easily enough right along here because they've got that very same symbol on the back of one of their huts. A lot of this area gets turned into tents. This corner, I believe, belongs to several True Faith guilds. Salmarak, I think, is somewhere in here as well. But yeah, so this spot is one you'll want to know. That is the Monster Pit. Throughout the Grand Battle Week, there are monsters that'll appear. Sometimes in the scenarios, sometimes it'll just be people are doing rituals in order to summon up the monsters because it's fun and it looks cool. People put a lot of time and effort and money into the monster costumes, as you've probably seen from some of the pictures. The Monster Pit is a spot that, in years past and potentially in years to come, during the Grand Battle Week, they will hold sort of like pit fights, like a gladiator tournament, but it's specifically for the monsters, and the Monster Pit is generally where it'll take place. The buildings all around here, primarily these ones, belong to Redemption, and they have like stage lights set up around the perimeter, so that they'll often do the monster fights at night, which is apparently really, really intense. I haven't seen it myself yet, but it's on my to-do list for this year because I've heard there are going to be monster pit fights. So I'm really excited. Yeah, so Redemption Camp is there. Terratos has their camp right here, and I believe 1 or 2 buildings here are theirs as well. This spot will be rather important for a number of people who are interested in playing Troll Ball, as well as anyone who's wanting to do tournament fights, as this is the Troll Ball field, the new Troll Ball field. It's a very nice setup. They've got stands right along the back here and a little viewing box for judges or royalty or whatever. Several tournaments are run here, often in the mornings. Finlam is done. The Fine Blade competition of fencing of a sort is done there, but that is also, this is primarily where Troll Ball happens. Troll Ball games all take place here, and that is the main focus for that field. The Old Auberge is this building right here. This is often where we will go to get breakfast. It is also one of the primary locations for drinking and partying during the Grand Battle Week, because there is a little stage set up here where they will have concerts go on. There'll be performers, and sometimes there's storytellers during the day doing their thing as well. So this particular corner of Beakeline is where a lot of partying happens. I will give one brief shout out to a restaurant that I believe is right. I think it's this one right here, Le Buccaneer de Roy. They do some really nice poutine, but my personal favorite dish from there is a hamburger that they make, and they include a slice of, I believe it's apple pie. I realize it may not sound the greatest, but it is really, really delicious. I absolutely love it. So yeah, so sometimes breakfast is done in Old Town at the Old Auberge. This year there's a potential for it to be at our camp. We'll often have a food tent set up where you come at meal times, which are basically a morning meal and an evening meal. So basically breakfast and supper. Yeah, so that is the primary layout of most of the important things that you'll need to find. There's a variety of different guilds. I think in the game world of Beakling, you're probably looking at over 50 odd different guilds. So there's a lot of people to meet. There's a lot to learn. I mean, this is going to be my second year. I'm still learning a lot. I believe the Fells, General Asher and Countess Cinder have been here since the start, which was about 4 or 5 years ago, I think, for Ordo. And they're still learning things. They're still encountering groups that are either brand new or they've heard about, but they've never actually had the chance to meet them yet. Yeah. Looks like Commander Killian has joined the call. Mike, do you have anything that you think for newcomers would be potentially useful to know, like locations of things or even like tricks for getting around and surviving in the world of Beagling?
Have you covered footwear?
I have not. Basic garb and such I haven't touched on.
All right. Well, I've got about 30 seconds before I have to go to a commander's meeting thing. So that's going to be between Commander Zoya, Commander Jack, and General Fells and myself. So I'll be leaving this hang out for another one. Footwear. I'll go over that one real quick. I'm a big guy, so I put a lot of weight on my feet. And I found out last year that I cannot, my first year there, which was a couple years ago, I was able to take my one pair of boots and wear them the entire week. It was a terrible idea. Don't do that. I went through so many socks that the next year I went, I didn't pack socks. I just bought them in Canada and then threw them away when I was done with them because I trashed them, which worked out really well for me. I plan on doing a very similar thing. That being said, if you're traveling from afar, buying things on site, or there's a couple of Walmarts that are nearby. There's plenty of shopping centers that you can do. Things that you want to bring, like combat wear, like combat boots or something, whatever you're comfortable running around in low bush and like branches and stuff, because you might get your shins kind of wrecked if you're not wearing armor. I throw my chance to the wind and see what I can get. And I usually just take my combat boots when I go out to the the fights and big stuff, and that's fine by me. You may want some walking around shoes, like around town, which may be different than your combat boots, which are very important. I would suggest some very period appropriate, sandals or shoe-like apparel as opposed to boots. And then I would also suggest straight up sandals, like some flip-flops or something, not like the rubber flip-flops, but if you can find like leather ones, or something that is a little bit more period appropriate, or something that you can fake enough, because footwear, I think, especially in the Pacific Northwest here in Washington State, and it seems to be this same everywhere as I've been stalking all the LARP sites as much as possible, that footwear, so long as it doesn't scream that is an out-of-game thing, like it has Nikes or Adidas symbols on it, then you're probably good enough to go. But at Biko, they have such a high regard for the decorum that you really want to try and make sure that you fit in as much as possible. My boots are military boots. They're really, really lightweight, but I even get some slide eyes where I'm like, yeah, I know, but boots are fucking expensive. Freaking, I don't know if we're swearing here or not. It is a family-oriented game. However, there will be some not so family-oriented themes at that game, I'm sure. So, I mean, if this bothers you, you might. I don't know, get some earwax. But yeah, you want some flip flops or something to when you're going to go down and bathe in the river. The showers are really nice, but they're going to be long lines, and it's going to be very difficult to get into them all the time. I think my battle buddy Takara, her real name's Brittany. She gave me a pass to be able to go and use the bathrooms because she only use the showers. She only used it a couple times. And it was a glorious experience. It didn't work very well. And I ended up actually making people behind me in line angry because it just didn't work for me. So I thought I'd stay in there a couple of extra minutes and they got upset. So you're going to probably end up spending a lot of time down in the river freezing while you're cleaning yourself. It's not really that cold. It's just I'm kind of a wuss when it comes to those extreme temperatures. So yeah, wearing flip-flops or your shoes or something like that is going to make your getting up out of bed, having to go to the bathroom or going down to the river that much easier and that much more, I guess, efficient use of your time as opposed to lacing up your boots every time you have to go somewhere and you just decided I've got to wear shoes for this. There is a no glass bottle policy outside of your camps. So you can't be having these like giant tankards of, glass bottles, your fifth of vodka, for example, can't stay in a glass bottle as you're walking around town. But there are instances where there are broken stuff on the ground. So walking around this mile-long village with no shoes, I mean, there's only a couple of brave souls that can do it, and more power to them. I am not one, and nor do I suggest anybody else be one, because that's a really good way of getting an injury that will prevent you from being able to participate in BICO or the larger events, and that would suck. Let's not do that.
Yeah. The paths are also gravel, so, I mean, if you've got thick soles, sure, but not worth it. It's not worth it.
Anything else I can get for you real quick? Because I'm going to go to this other hangout. Ask me a question. Do it.
What is a secret of beacling, like getting around the world or whatever? Because I know General Asher the other night mentioned how there's a cabinet of tankards in the auberge that if you've forgotten one, you can borrow one. What's something about beacling, be it, like the dance circle or something of that sort?
When you are something that I believe might be a thing, and I could be corrected, and if I'm wrong about this, then I'm happy to eat crow on this. If you're walking around town on Sunday evening, it is best not to be wearing your armor, and it is best not to be wearing your weapon. I think we got some pretty hard flack on that Monday. So what happened was on Sunday, we did a giant parade of all of 175, 180, damn near 200 of us through legitimately half the city, half the village. And we were in full regalia. Everybody had their colors on, which was awesome. Everybody had their armor on and swords, and we looked like heroes and badasses. And everybody who had been going to BICO for more than a couple of years was like, what a pompous bunch of jackasses. And we got the crap kicked out of us the next day. Like we did well in the afternoon, but we had a serious fight, and there was some levels of aggression that somebody hinted towards me that it was possibly because we had shown up on Sunday night and did that social faux pas. So if you can get away with it, don't worry about wearing your armor and your big weapons and whatnot when you're walking around town. It's not necessary. It's unnecessary. If you want to just be like looking cool and whatnot, yeah, sure. But don't wear your full plate, unless you're going for a reason. If you're going somewhere to go do a thing, oh yeah, then yeah, gear up, go kit up. That's fine. But on like Sunday evening, I don't know how Fells is. I don't know what we're doing for our, welcome to Ordo, welcome to BICO, ceremony that we've been doing every year so far. But we really need to watch out for that. So there is going to be a genuine culture shock unless you're used to the French Canadian side of things. There's a lot that we will miss, and be open and accepting to being wrong. It's their culture. And I hate to draw lines in the sand like that because they've done a really good job of accepting us and welcoming us, but it is an entirely different culture. And if you're not as accepting to that or not ready to, for lack of a better term, eat crow or learn, you might find yourself at a disadvantage later on if you continue on. Whereas if you're willing to learn, you can go far.
Very true. Awesome. Thanks, man. I'll let you get going to your commander's meeting.
All right, man. Everybody, good luck, and I'll see you soon.
Yeah. Take care, brother.
Yep. Bye.
Seeing as Mike brought up garb, I'll touch on a couple things quickly. Footwear, definitely get something solid for the battlefield. I wear Blundstone boots, very comfortable, very sturdy. If I fight in the mud or the rain or whatever, I come back, I pull them off, I wash the dirt off of them, and then I oil them up again, and they're good to go within a couple hours. These things are fantastic. Um, if you're worried about your toes getting stepped on, you can get them with steel toe. It's great. There are a couple of companies and craftsmen that sell footwear on site if you want to get something really fancy and nice. They are expensive, but the stuff is generally well made, and it looks really cool. I know one tip Asher gave the other evening was that you may want to have like slippers or sandals or something like that, and something loose you can throw on if you need to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, rather than like lacing up a corset or trying to find a tunic or something like that. I have a couple cloaks. I have like an oversized tunic. Asher Fells has a set of slippers and a cloak that he'll just throw on. It'll just get you, there and back without scaring anybody. From pasty white skin in the darkness, or just skin in the darkness. Some people are surprised by that. One thing to keep in mind as well, because of weapons, on the town side of the river, there is no fighting without permission from the game masters. Some people will spar or hang out, but guilds will not gear up and go and attack each other's camps. If something like that does happen to occur, it's because they have gotten specific permission from the game master. If any sort of combat generally takes place, even quests, if there's combat in a quest, generally any fighting that happens will be done on the other side of the river. It's only during campaign weekends that that line blurs away. Yeah, like get something that's like a cheap footwear for wearing around town or something like that. Get something that's for the battlefield. And I'd recommend similar with your costuming. Have your battlefield outfit, whether it's you have a couple different shirts and pants or kilt, whatever. I have 1 or 2 pairs of pants I wear for the battlefield, and I have 1 or 2 shirts I wear on the battlefield, and then I've got my armor that goes on top. For town, I have a couple pairs of pants. I have shorts. I have a number of different shirts and tunics. I also go topless occasionally. It depends on the day. Some people will pack an outfit for every day, but then they'll have the ability to mix and match the different pieces depending on what they feel like. I do very similar to that. You maybe want something that's a little bit fancier. There is a ladies' night at Beekleen. Guys will often do their own parties as well on the same evening, but Beekleen specifically does host a ladies' night, and the people will get dressed up for that. Sometimes if you're going to visit, like say you're in the Duke's court or the court of Quilinov with Countess Cinder, and you decide that, or not decide, but you're assigned to go and visit another guild on a diplomatic mission. Well, maybe you want to get dressed up for that. So have something that's fancy dress, or somewhat fancy formal wear, whatever you want to call it. Have your battle garb, and then have stuff for around town, stuff for going to the river. And you're going to the river and, late night bathroom trip, that stuff can be pretty well the same thing. Whatever gets you from A to B and back without, offending people and their children. Oh, what else? Like I mentioned, in the Auberge, the new Auberge, a number of people have forgotten their tankards over the year, and so there's this cabinet that's just full of them. If you forget your tankard, you can just borrow one from there. There's also, I believe, a policy that if you buy one of the Beekleen specific tankards, you can drink at the new Auberge for free for beer. I think the cider you have to pay for. What else? General costuming stuff. I mean, it depends on your character and your style. For the battlefield, I would recommend something that's comfortable and gives you room to move. I will often wear work dress pants. If someone's in construction, you'll probably know what I'm talking about. But you'll see a lot of waiting staff wear something similar. It's like a dress pant, but it's designed specifically for working in. I find a black pair of those, or even brown pair would work too. They're really comfortable. They're loose enough to move around in, and they look vaguely military-ish because of their cut. For footwear, boots and sandals, like we said, if you're looking to disguise something, you can wrap it. There's a number of tutorials you can find online for getting like cheap leather and doing shoe covers. What I do is I wear my boots, but then I bought a pair of leather half chaps that horse riders will use, and that's what I'll wear, and it kind of blends my boot in. I'll just I'll pull the pant leg up a little bit just to let it bag around the knee, which helps the look. Other people I know on the battlefield, to help protect their ankle from rolling if they're wearing like a shoe or something like that, you can get the same braces that horses will wear, and you can use something like that as well. It'll also help, make the shoes look a little bit more period. Specific costuming stuff, I mean, it depends on your style. Some people will do Vikings, some will do more Renaissance, others just do a kind of like peasant thing. It depends. People will have leather belts, whether they're broad or narrow. Some people will use rope belts, which are also kind of neat. Trying to think of other things. Yeah, you don't need to carry weapons in town. Some people will do it for the look, but it's generally not necessary. There's a number of competitions that'll take place that involve fighting in the towns, such as the Assassin's Night. Then you're allowed to carry a weapon, but you don't need to unless you're part of the game, which is basically, everyone who's playing the game has to eliminate everyone else, and it's last man standing. The other version I heard of it was that you're given a note with a name. You have to kill that person and take the note that they have with a name, and you have to kill that person. You just basically follow the circle around until you get your own name. There's a variety of different tournaments. I will try and get the details on the different tournaments and that sort of thing for you guys. Though you can also get in touch with Merrick, who's running the tournament house. It's similar to Venatores, only whereas we're focusing on learning about combat and improving combat skills and developing combat skills. They are specifically geared towards the tournament ring. So he'll probably know about the rules and the styles and that sort of thing for that. Clothing, shoes. Get a tankard. You can buy cheap ones online. You can buy them on site. Sometimes you can get like a little leather tab or belt loop or something like that to hang your tankard from your belt on, which I do recommend. Because if you're going around visiting other camps, there's probably going to be booze offered to you at some point. And if not, it's hot out. Even if you're just visiting friends or whatever and you're not on the battlefield to drink water, having your tankard makes that a lot easier. Personally, I just hang my tankard from my belt with a piece of brown shoelace. It's really nondescript. No one's very particular about it, and it's really easy to get on and off, and I know it's secure. When it comes to the battlefield, really you only need to carry one, maybe two weapons. If you're fighting in the shield wall, pick your sword or your axe or your warhammer, and that's it. You don't need to carry like 3 weapons. There's no types, like nothing is hurt more by bludgeoning than by slashing or piercing. That's not a thing at Beaglean. If you want to carry a backup weapon, sure. As a spear fighter, I will generally carry a backup weapon because if someone tries to get past the reach of my spear, I need something to kill them with. Some spear fighters won't bother with anything, but generally they'll carry like a short sword or a dagger or something like that. Yeah, like really only carry the weapons that you actually need and you're going to fight with. Don't pack 5 different weapons. If you've got 5 different weapons with you, switch with them. Go to skirmishes, practice with other Ordo with them, and get a feel for what you like best and what you're most comfortable with. And then learn how to use that particular thing as fast as possible, because come the grand battle, You don't want to be playing around with, what weapon feels best or what looks best. Go with what functions best. Practicality is what will win you a fight. Yeah. You'll also learn how to adjust your kit. If you find that a piece of armor is getting in your way, get rid of it. Sure, it may give you more protection, but if it's slowing you down or it's hindering your movement, it's unsafe and it's not going to help you win a fight. So get rid of it. I was wearing plate pauldrons, bracers, and greaves. The greaves kept twisting on my legs, and I never got hit in that area of the leg because I was fighting as a spear. So my legs are generally not available targets. So I got rid of them. It allowed me to run around faster. I recently got rid of my plate bracers because they kept sliding down my arms and they would dig into my wrist. And often as a spear, I'm fighting with my hand brought back like this. And if the plate bracer is digging in, it's causing me injury. It's cutting off circulation and it gets in the way. So I got rid of them. Now I wear leather ones. Wearing a helmet is recommended, both for safety and because it saves you from backstab attacks a little bit. You don't have to. If someone sees you are not wearing a helmet and they want to go for a headshot, they will tap you on the head. Sometimes it's a little bit harder, but generally it will be a tap. It's supposed to be a tap. So that'll be something to be aware of. If you're fighting in the shield wall, like as a frontline fighter, I would recommend a helmet. It's not a necessity, but it almost is, simply because people get bumped around. There's elbows and hands all up in the air, jostling around and whatever, and there's weapons all over the place. It's a good idea to have a helmet, because even if a spear thrust to the head is not a legal hit, it still hurts. And getting an arrow to the face does suck a lot. So I would recommend a helmet. If you're fighting in the shield wall, I would recommend something that at least somewhat covers your face.
Where's Dad?
I don't know.
If you're fighting as a spearman or someone who's an officer, I would suggest looking at something that gives you better vision and better ability to speak clearly. I wear the Epic Armory Marion, which is similar to a kettle helmet. I can see everything. My face is vulnerable. Even though it's technically not a legal target, I can still get hit there and it'll hurt. But the helmet protects the top of my head, which will save me from the kill shots. And it allows me to see and hear clearly. If you guys get a helmet, like say the Barbuda, whether it's visored or not, or something similar to that, my suggestion would be check for how well you can breathe in it. If you do running or anything like that, or you just got the helmet, go for a run and then put the helmet on or wear the helmet while running. Find out how it affects your breathing. If it is restricting your breathing in some way, modify it. Like if there's a visor, drill holes in it. You can get metal drill bits at almost any hardware store, put them in, a standard drill or something like that, and drill some extra holes in. And then, make sure that there's no sharp edges that will potentially cut you. Make sure your chin strap works. Some people will just pop a helmet on their head and leave it loose, and then it'll flop around and will potentially injure them while fighting. That's no good. Make sure your chin strap works. Learn where it fits snugly on you, and same sort of thing. Maybe run around a little bit in it, get a little bit of activity going and blood pumping. If you're practicing sword fighting with your weapons, do it in your armor with your helmet on, that sort of thing, to get used to it. If you find that, oh, well, this is where it sits tight when I'm standing still, but when I'm moving around a lot, I find it kind of constricts me, maybe loosen it off a notch. Ear holes would be another thing for helmets. If there aren't any, make them. Or, if you're not sure, get someone who knows metalcraft to make them. Because as a frontline fighter, you want to be able to hear someone on your side giving you instructions. Whether it's, hey, we're being attacked from behind, or, hey, we're going to push forward. Or avec toi, I'm with you, let's move. You want to be able to hear what's going on around you, and most frontline helmets will block your ears. A great helmet that I have noticed is the Greek-style helmet, or the Roman-style helmet is another one. But the Greek-style helmet, like that, what's the name, Brad Pitt wears in the movie Troy, if you get one like that and take the crest off, because the crest will count as a hit. If someone clips it with a halberd or a sword, it counts as a hit to your head. But you take that crest off, it'll protect your face. It's got lots of space for you to breathe. You can still see pretty well. And it's got clear movement to your ears. The ratio helmet, I believe, does this as well. You want to be able to hear, breathe, and see. And if you're someone who's looking to become an officer or are an officer, if you're a stag, you want to be able to speak clearly. If something's in front of your face, you will not be able to be heard clearly or at all, and that'll become a problem. I can't think of anything else at the moment. There will be other chats later on, guys. I hope to do just some informal stuff, just chat, get to know each other a little bit. I do want to go over roleplay as well, a little bit as well within the house, because for all that we do focus on combat, roleplay is still a thing at a LARP. And you know, if it's not as much of your thing, cool, that's fine. We can talk briefly about, you know, how you can interact with people who are role playing more, and we can go from there. And if you want to get more in depth into stuff, we can do that as well. I do recommend you guys get in touch with Sean Bowman. He's running the guards. It is a lot of fun to do that RP. It's also just kind of fun to sit there on guard and watch the world go by. You've got a great excuse to not do anything for a bit and just keep an eye on things. You're aware when important people are visiting the camp. And sometimes you'll also get used as a messenger. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. Get a timepiece would be another quick one to throw out there. If you've got a watch and you can hide it in like a leather bracer or a belt pouch or something like that, cool. Don't use your cell phone. Don't use your cell phone. But also there's a store at Beagling that sells a little watch that goes on a necklace, and you can either get it as a wind-up, or you can get it that it has a little button battery. I think they're like somewhere between 20 to 40 bucks for one of these things. I intend to get one. I won't wear it on the battlefield, but when I'm in camp, it's awesome. So I do recommend something like that, just because it makes it a little bit easier, especially if you've got guard duty. Yeah. So hope to hear from you guys. If you guys have questions at all about different things about Beacling, you know, feel free to post here in the group. If you've got a new sword, like I just got 2 of my new swords recently. I'm gonna post those and talk a little bit about them, what I like about them, what I don't. And I'll probably also start posting pictures of my kit. If you guys have your weapons and armor and whatnot laid out already, you know, lay it all out on the ground or whatever in your room, or go outside and lay it out. Take a picture of it. You know, take a picture of yourself wearing it, and you're welcome to ask, you know, hey guys, what do you think of this? Do you think there's anything I can do to improve it? What are some ideas? Like all that sort of stuff. So yeah, hope you guys found this informative. If you need me to go over something like this in the future, let me know. I'll update this as much as I can. But yeah, no, hope to talk to you guys soon. Have fun. And for now, Lieutenant Finn out. Avec toi.